Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Lorraine Jensen, and I'm here today representing the Metaphysical Society for Conscious Living. My guest today is Narissa Young. Welcome, Narissa.
Thank you, Lorraine.
A little bit about who we are. The Metaphysical Society for Conscious Living is open to those seeking community, connection, personal and spiritual development, and offers an opportunity to feel connected and empowered by providing educational seminars, workshops, podcasts, and even conferences. My guest today, as I said, is Narissa Young, and Narissa will be speaking on the topic of the sound and the art of listening. Sound and the art of listening. I look forward to hearing that. And Narissa will be speaking on February the 15th at 7 p.m. at the Unitarian Fellowship Hall at 595 Townsite Road. Now, if you like what you hear today and see today, I invite you to join us on February the 15th. And if you have a friend or some friends that you think you'd like to bring along, please share this podcast and bring your friends along with you. It's going to be a lot of fun. So let me tell you a little bit about my guest. Career vocalist, multi-instrumentalist, songwriter, and Canadian recording artist, Narissa Young began studying sound therapy formally in 2014. Having known the power of music to instantly transform, she yearned for a more intentionally focused way to connect and contribute. We're going to talk about that, Narissa.
Yeah, we are.
Her studio is active year-round with one-on-one sessions. Winter offerings include tuning fork workshops and global sound healing retreats as well. With a special focus on vibroacoustic therapy, Narissa is making a difference in those around her with access to this restorative approach. Helping others feel safe and sound is her passion. Resetting the nervous system is the foundation. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Narissa Young will bring her experience as a lifelong musician and music lover into the therapeutic realm in all aspects. I just love being in your presence because I know what you bring. And I would like to start by asking you, this one sentence stands out for me: having known the power of music to instantly transform, she yearned for a more intentionally focused way to connect and contribute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's core for me as a performer. For as long back as I can remember, I have watched the power of music transform people from the stage. So when you're playing a particular song or you sing a particular lyric, I can see people's body postures soften. I can see their expressions change. I can see them reach across the table and take their partner's hand. So I know it's immediately having an effect, and I've always felt that. And so knowing that, I wanted more of that. I wanted more opportunities to create that level of connection. It's beyond words. Magic, I think.
It is. And you're right. You can see it. I mean, I think about sitting in a wedding and watching everybody, the music starts and just like, hey, that's a different person that was sitting there 5 minutes ago. It's a
powerful way to connect with somebody too, because it can be without words. In that moment, you can just take their hand and head to the dance floor.
It's beautiful.
So
it's beautiful. The other sentence that I read here was helping others feel safe and sound is her passion.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of awareness now around the vagus nerve and the nervous system and how it functions. Certainly the last few years were a real study on that. because there was a lot of, oh my gosh, what's next? And what is that? And what do I do? And how's this working? And I think it left a lot of people in a really prolonged state of fight or flight. And then all of the problems that follow that as the body tries to adapt, but it's not designed to be in that state for too long. So my work is restorative in that I'm really reminding people and getting them back into that safe, parasympathetic, oh yeah, everything's fine here. This is the place that I make calm decisions from. This is the place where my body is in harmony and working. So reminding them like a practice, like a fitness practice. We're doing that
Mhm.
exercise together. Not only did the session in the moment give tremendous relief, but after that, there's effects that linger on, and then the practice of that begins. Okay, I want to get back into that space again and remind my nervous system and all my body systems that that is the place we want to hang out most of the time. Fight or flight is there when it's needed, right? In a healthy nervous system, healthy vagal response, it's there when we need it, but we
Right,
shouldn't be on all the time,
right, right.
causing a
We don't
lot of
want to live
damage.
there. We don't
No,
want to live there.
causing a lot of damage. Yeah.
Yeah, that that was great.
Mm.
So the art,
Mm.
like sound and the art of listening.
Okay, so I just had a an image of a tarot card with sort of two swords there, right? So sound and the art of listening. Sound begins with awareness. I really believe that sound overall is taken for granted and that people don't understand fully their relationship with sound. And that could be music, that could be sound that's in your home environment, your work environment, the world environment. That's digital noise, it's visual static, it's many, many, many layers. And how are we in relationship with that?
Mhm.
And learning to tune into that and discover when a sound is working for us and when it's not. I also think of sound nutritionally. And when just the same as we would go to a beautiful health store or a grocery store and choose our food with the highest, the highest value, I believe we should be doing the same thing with sound. I believe we should be more discerning about what's in our environment and if it's working for us. I have a specific nature track, for example, that I work with. And as soon as the little birdies start singing, I just dial right in. I'm just able to focus immediately. I'm calm and focused. So it's finding out what the things are for you that work and noticing the things that don't, and deciding whether you can adjust them or adjust your position to them. I'll
Right,
speak
right.
about misophonia for a minute. Um,
Misophonia.
yeah, most people have
Okay.
never heard about it
No.
actually, but it's pretty special. Let me tell you, it's a setup in the brain where the brain hears certain noises louder than they actually are. It interprets the signal coming in as
Just a minute.
being
I need to
much
listen to
louder.
this. Say it again.
Mhm. So the brain interprets the signal coming in as much louder than it actually is.
The brain interprets that.
Yeah. So, for example, misophonia, people that have it tend to not be able to tolerate the sound of someone chewing close to them.
Oh,
There's a frequency there. There's a bandwidth of frequency that is amplified, and it's too much. And it creates a very strong response in the nervous system. I have this and didn't know it for a long time. I would be made to sit at the dinner table, for example, when I was a kid. The family was to sit together until everybody was finished, and then you would go. And it made me whoa, so stressed out. And I had no idea why. No
wow.
idea. It wasn't until probably I think in my 30s that I met somebody else that said it. And I was like, whoa, you too? And they had done some research and found out it actually had a title and a cause. So then I knew how to adapt to it. Number one, I don't sit beside people that are chewing, right? So it means that I adapt.
Yes.
I know, and I go, okay, so, or put a little music on in the room, and then my
Yeah.
brain listens to that.
Yeah.
So, okay, so awareness around sound, that's the first sword. The second sword is the art of listening.
Yes.
Because are we listening?
I know.
Right? Are we listening to our own innate wisdom? Are we listening to our body's wisdom when it speaks up with a tightness or a pain or something? And are we listening to each other? Are we
Yes.
allowing each other to finish sentences and have a true conversation? Or are we busy, busy, busy trying to jam it all in? That's one of my, probably my biggest peeves in the world is people are not listening to each other.
Yeah.
They're very busy coming up with their own ideas and then cutting each other off. And I get it. There's a time for excited brainstorming, but what I'm really talking about is the day to day. Are we listening?
Yes.
So to each other, and there's a lot of chatter in the digital world. There's a lot of things for us to listen to.
Mhm.
And if we're not, if we're not listening kind of as a spiritual practice, then we're not, in a spiritual relationship with the thing we're listening to.
Yeah,
So
we're disconnected. We're
yeah,
unplugged.
yeah. So
Yeah,
it
and
really is an art.
sometimes I am so plugged up in here that I
Mm.
can't even hear you.
Yeah, yeah. And therein lies the most important aspect of listening, and it is leaving space.
Tell me more.
Well, if you pick up a book, there are spaces between the words. If
Mm.
you look at a melody of a song, there are occasional rests between the phrases. And it's the very same thing. We need to allow that rest, that silence. Silence is a texture of sound.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And this year I was in an experience where you create your word for the year.
Mm-hmm.
And my word is here, not HEAR, but here,
Nice.
HERE, because I
Yeah.
heard the line, here is the new high.
Mm.
So when I see that little rock, I just breathe. And I know that I am home. I am
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we all have some sort of um a mantra, and certainly if not, we can create them, right? What is it that brings me into the now? For me, if I am, all jumbly in the things I need to remember and do, and oh my goodness, and I should do more of that and less of that, and I'm exactly where I need to be. That phrase for me brings me back in, and especially if I let it rest on the lower note of the phrase. So hear the difference. If I say, I'm exactly where I need to be, or I'm exactly where I need to be, which one is more grounding? Obviously the second one.
Yes.
So tonality has a lot to do. Diction, there's a whole piece around the Sanskrit language and why it's so powerful as the first ever language. There are actually frequencies that are created in the mouth on certain syllables. So that's why it's important that when you learn Sanskrit, you learn to enunciate it properly. Because if your mouth takes a particular shape, your mouth is a resonating chamber. So as we speak different vowels and different words, we are creating frequency medicine with our speech. I mean, it's pretty powerful, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's take the example of maybe you meet somebody that's really kind of shut down emotionally, spiritually, or maybe they're being at a time in their life where they're being hard on themselves. Chances are they're not going to be speaking very clearly, like I am now. Right? I'm pausing to choose my words. I'm speaking clearly. It's intention. I've already grounded before we started, all those things. So by comparison, a person that's having trouble is probably talking a little bit through their not really kind of forming the words, a lot of kind of hesitating and so I can hear a lot in people's voices as soon as I meet somebody. When I get a new client, for example, I have them speak for a few minutes, and that tells me a lot about where they're at. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah. And that makes so much sense. So, as a facilitator and a coach, I watch people's behavior when they come into a room and how they show up.
yeah,
And you're right. And I do listen, but it's unconscious. So I'm going to start consciously listening
Mm-hmm.
to what my people say as well as observing.
Yeah. And you'll hear things in their voice too, right? Like we can hear
Yes.
emotion in voises.
Yes.
I can hear dehydration pretty fast in
Yes, I
somebody's
bet you
voice.
can.
Get some water and then come back and talk to me.
Well, that's what she said to me just now.
Well, that was different. That was warm water.
That was warm water.
It's for something else. But
Yeah.
yes, we're not hearing each other's voices. It's an added layer of communication.
Right.
Something I will talk more about when I speak on the 15th is that your whole body is listening. There are mechanoreceptors underneath the skin. So us being on Zoom, we're actually missing a layer of information.
Right.
If we were together in the same room, my body would be interpreting little puffs of air created by the sound waves of your voice that would be hitting my skin, giving me an extra set of information for my nervous system to interpret the conversation. It's
Oh,
something.
we are so miraculous.
Yeah.
You know, we're so miraculous.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And wow. There's one more thing that I heard recently that I wanted to share with you. And it was this quote. It wasn't a quote, it was what somebody said. High energy people need to get together and connect to a higher energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell me how you and music create that.
Well, high energy musicians definitely do that. Well, any musician who gets in the zone together, they definitely do that. And what they're doing in that moment is they're amplifying each other, right? As they get into the music flow together, they're amplifying the intention of being there together, perhaps the intention of the song. So that's definitely one aspect of it. The other thing that jumps to mind is through dance. Dance, I believe, is a form of sound healing. So just because it's rhythm. Now, because we can't always hear a rhythm, for example, we can't hear the earth going around the sun,
Right.
but indeed that is a pulse, right? Every year, it's the same, it's constant. That is a rhythm, okay? If we sped up that rhythm, it would actually end up in the audible range, but that's another podcast. But let's take it to the dance floor.
Yeah, please.
Right? We are dancing in rhythm. So when I move my body, you don't hear it, but it is rhythm, which is a part of sound healing, sound work, and our desire to move together in rhythm or sing together in rhythm is a way to amplify those waves.
And you feel it instantaneously, don't you?
Yes.
And one of the things that I really want to commend you on, Narissa, is during COVID, you and your partner, Scott, went out and created neighborhood concerts.
Yes.
And I attended, I don't know how many.
I know.
Because the energy there was just dynamic. And I'm a person that absolutely loves to connect with others and to just watch others smile and feel good. And so for you two to come out and stand at the end of a cul-de-sac and sing, and he was playing a little keyboard, was just magical. And people come out of their houses and bring their seats and their drinks and popcorn and dance. We'll just dance in the street during COVID. Thank you.
My pleasure.
What inspired you to do that?
Inspiration. It was completely on purpose and with intention. When everything shut down in March that year, Scott and I, my music buddy, kept having rehearsals because for us that on its own was, a big part of who we were, right? We were often getting ready for a show or recording or something at that time. And so when we had our first rehearsal after everything shut down, I noticed how much better physically I felt, not just emotionally, but physically. I thought, oh I just feel all relaxed and peaceful. And I thought, wow, like if we've got a way to do that, we can't keep this to ourselves. We have to, there's people, many people out there feeling similar. And I told Scott, I said, next week when you come for rehearsal, let's just put the PA and the gear in the street. I lived on a cul-de-sac, so we ran some cables down and put the PA down there and his piano. And I did some hand invites to just my neighbors on that street. And about a dozen or so people came and sat wherever they were comfortable. And it just evolved. I knew it was the right thing. That was the core driving energy. I knew it was just the right thing. The details didn't matter. I just knew it was the right thing.
Right.
And so I had some really excellent feedback from that day. And then it just took off like a rocket. Czech News did a piece the following week. And then after that, we got the next street up wanted us. So we did one up there for about 30 people and added a few more musicians. And then it just took off. I could see the vehicle was really on purpose. And I knew I had the business skills to put the back end together. So I reached out to a few musicians and got some postering going. We ended up doing 33 shows from between April and August, between Campbell River and Ladysmith. And, it could have even reached farther. My favorite thing about those times was that it was exactly what we all needed.
Yes, it was.
As musicians, we were halted in our work also, and we needed to have that outlet and that connection. But for people, it was about meeting them where they were at in their various stages of understanding or feeling or whatever. And for some of them, it was get up and dance. Yeah. And for some of them, it was just to be there was enough.
Yes.
For some of them, just to be there with their neighbor was enough. And so it was really, really like a healing salve. It was
so beautiful
for all of us.
For everybody.
Yeah.
For everybody.
Musicians, we ended up working with about a dozen musicians over the summer. And then we would just take a simple collection and share it with the musicians. They all really thanked me too, because they needed to get out. They desperately missed playing together. So yeah. And then it was that sparked my decision to return to the degree and complete the associate's degree in sound healing. Immediately after that, actually, it was August that year, I reached out to the school and said, I'm coming back. What do you got?
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah. Well, Narissa, I am so much looking forward to being there that day. And we've sung a few times together. In fact, today,
yes, we have.
I didn't even know I bought my tambourine.
Oh, she's ready.
I'll bring it. I'll bring it on the 15th. I'll bring it on the 15th. So thank you so much for coming today and sharing that fascinating information about sound. I had no idea on many levels.
My pleasure.
And it was great. So again, Narissa will be speaking on February the 15th at the Unitarian Fellowship Hall at 595 Townsite Road in Nanaimo at 7 p.m. Bring your friends, bring your dancing shoes, maybe. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, it's all possible.
You can also find us on Facebook at the Metaphysical Society for Conscious Living page. We look forward to seeing you there. Take care.